Hello, everybody, and welcome to our, I believe, first ever DFS lineup lock show. I'm Keith Cork. I'm going to be coming at you here for the next 30 minutes up until lineup lock for your DFS lineups. And I'll be giving you all the latest news and trying to break it down for you from a DFS perspective. But kind of quiet right now. All is quiet on the Western Front. Nothing too earth-shattering at the moment, but we do have some news from earlier that I do want to help break down for you guys here. Obviously, the biggest one being, for the Bucks, Milwaukee Bucks, no Giannis, no Drew Holiday. Not much of a surprise to us in the wager pass that had already bet the Detroit Pistons plus 15.5 line, which I believe last I saw was plus 13. So not really a shock here. Pretty much figured the Bucks would either take this game out seriously or sit a few guys. So that's what they've done. And we do have some, obviously some good DFS value. The first and foremost, one of the guys I got to lock into my lineups here, Javon Carter, 3,400. I mean, you don't have Drew Holiday, so, it's got to be Javon Carter. Absolutely. He's been just rock solid for you guys, putting up really decent DK lines here. 20 minutes and 18.25 DK points on the 19th of March. But when he gets like 30-plus minutes, 35 minutes on the 7th of March, put up 37.5 DK points. 33 minutes on February 24th, 26 DK points. The 16th against my Chicago Bulls, February 16th, he put up 41.5 DK points in 32 minutes. So just looking at 30-plus minutes here for Javon Carter, I think you absolutely have to give me lineups. Obviously, the other guy that we're looking at also is Bobby Portis at 5,600 on DraftKings. Very, very solid value there as well. I think it's something that you can definitely go for. I don't think he's necessarily a must roster. He can put up duds now and then. I mean, he's really just a points and rebounds type guy, but I think he's still at 5,600. If we're talking like 6,500 to 7,000, then there's probably not enough meat on the bone there. But I think at 5,600 makes a whole lot of sense. On FanDuel, his price is 6,300, which I'm not super enamored with either, but still very serviceable. I think you can go there as well. Javon Carter is 4,800 on FanDuel, which is obviously not as good as DraftKings, but I still think these guys are just going to have so much usage coming their way. You can absolutely roster them and feel pretty good about it. Obviously, some contrarian, more GPP type plays. You can play some, Grayson Allen at 4,400. I think that's a really solid play as well. He's been putting up solid numbers even without those guys out. So, a little more usage comes his way, a few more shots. Another guy I like to target whenever Giannis is out is Brook Lopez at 6,400. He's a really intriguing guy to look at here, especially in this matchup against the Detroit Pistons. You can see him going off for 6, 7, 8 blocks, which is just absolutely crazy. He's just got that ability. One of the Defensive Player of the Year finalists, going to be up there. It's either him or Jaren Jackson at this point. So you get those blocks, you get some points and extra rebounds against the lowly Pistons. I think you're really cooking there at just 6,400. I don't think I checked his price on. He's 7,600 on FanDuel, which is less appealing. And obviously with FanDuel, you can only get one center. So not sure if I go that direction there, because there's another guy that we're going to look at here in a minute that you think you absolutely have to have in your lineups, which you probably already know. But Timberwolves, that's another big one we look at here. Karl-Anthony Towns already rolled out. Anthony Edwards, last I checked, is questionable. I just refreshed my feed. I didn't see anything. By the way, using the Sports Ethos feed, the blurbs there, if you guys have access to that, I would absolutely use that. It is just these guys are just crushing it. I've been shadowing them for the last couple of weeks. Sportsethos.com. You should all go sign up for the DFS pass, the wager pass. Go sign up for the Ethos 360 pass, which gets you everything, get you all the access, and you're going to be able to stay on top of this stuff. So this kind of work that we're doing now on this stream is stuff that we do every single day behind the scenes. So if you're not, on top of that stuff, you're really missing out. So sportsethos.com, go sign up for it. But speaking of the Timberwolves, no Karl-Anthony Towns, no Anthony Edwards. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards Kyle Anderson slow-mo at 6,900. I think it's fine. It's against the Sacramento Kings. Everyone gets a little nice DFS bump when they play the Kings. So I don't hate you for playing that. Personally, though, I just don't feel like the ceiling's super high for Kyle Anderson slow-mo. So I'm not necessarily going to go with him. One guy I am keeping my eye on. I don't think I have any Wolves right now in my couple lineups I've made here. But one of the guys I am keeping my eye on here is absolutely Jaden McDaniels at 5,500. If we hear that Anthony Edwards is out, He's a guy that absolutely went off the last time Anthony Edwards missed. He had 43 DK points on the 22nd of March in 36 minutes. So 31 DK points, 42 DK points the couple of games before that. So just somebody that absolutely has a high ceiling and is going to take more usage. And the other thing is he really had a really crappy game last game. I know because I was in his points over, and he got 5 fouls in 10 minutes, which is just ridiculous. I don't know even how that happens, but yeah, he really crapped the bed last time out. So I'm thinking his ownership is going to be really, really low. So I do like Jaden McDaniels also. If we get those news that Anthony Edwards is out. If Anthony Edwards is in, though, you can go with some Ant-Man. Absolutely. Naz Reid's another guy I'd look at. He's been on a heater recently, 5,400. Obviously, you still have Rudy Gobert there, so playing Gobert and Naz Reid next to each other, a little questionable at times, but it is something that the Wolves have done before. So, I wouldn't rule out that that's a possibility here. I think Naz Reid could, see minutes in the mid-20s, which he has been seeing, 25, 20, 20, 26, 21 last 5 games. So you could see, a few extra minutes here and there. Maybe he ends up in the 25 to 28 minute range, which is decent. And again, just been on a heater recently, shooting the ball particularly well. Looks like 21 of 32 over the last 2 games, which is just unsustainable, but 5 of 9 from 3. But as long as he's shooting it that well and going to get minutes in that time frame, then that's what we're looking at there. I think that's an absolutely good lock for you guys. I'm just refreshing my feed here, seeing if there's any new news. Corey Joseph is going to be in, so that's interesting. He's a guy you can consider also in the Pistons. I think that game's going to go. It's going to be more competitive at this point, obviously, with no Giannis and stuff. I think the Bucks still win pretty handily, though. Let's talk about Portland. They're tanking at this point. There's no Dame Lillard, no Anthony Simons, no Jeremy Grant, no Nurkic. Watford's doubtful. So you've got 4 out of the 5 starters out, and Watford, who's been a big part of what they've been doing recently, also probably not playing here. Got to mention Shadon Sharp, obviously. Shadon Sharp, I think as long as he's, as I've said before with our DFS pass members, as long as he's under 7K, I think there's still plenty of upside there for you to go ahead and just lock him in. I think he's a fine, a good cash play. Let me put it that way. He's actually I'm looking at their roster right now on DraftKings. He's the highest priced guy on their team left playing on DraftKings at 6,200. So I think you can definitely go with him there. I do have him in a few lineups, so I think he's definitely doable. 7,200 on FanDuel. Pretty similar. I mean, FanDuel's always a little bit more, a couple hundred more expensive. So I'm not super concerned about that slight price difference. I think he's definitely rosterable on both sides. A little bit more appealing, obviously, on the DK side of things. But Shadon Sharp, I think, is definitely somebody that you can lock into all cash lineups. Nazir Little feels like we're chasing a little bit when we try to lock him in. He did have just an absolutely killer game in that last one, put up 30 or 28 real life points and 36 DK points. I just don't know if he shoots the ball that well again. This is he's playing the Pelicans, which is a much better defensive team than the Thunder. Not sure you can trust that necessarily. 3 of 6 from deep last game. Definitely probably not going to hit that. Didn't have any assists or blocks or steals, which is interesting, but he had 6 rebounds. I mean, I think he's fine. He's at 3,800, so that price tag's absolutely right. I think he's a fine guy I wouldn't even call it rolling the dice. I think he's a solid play. Just not expecting a ceiling game from him here, so he's not really going to be on my radar a whole lot. He's also going to have a really high ownership because of that last game as well, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But I think Drew Eubanks is a really good option here at 4,300, a bit more stable. Probably doesn't have the upside of a Nazir Little, honestly, but he is a really stable guy. Obviously, they're going to need some center minutes from here. Going to play 30-plus minutes in this one. It is a tough matchup also for Mr. Eubanks, but I do think at 4,300 on DraftKings and on FanDuel, he is 5,200. Yeah, I think DraftKings makes sense. FanDuel, I'm not super into that, honestly. So that's my thoughts there. Keon Johnson is another guy. I threw him out the last couple times that they played. He's 4,300 on DraftKings, and on FanDuel he is 5,200. It's fine, a fine play. I think he's definitely a GPP type play. But I do like this kid. I think they have a lot of incentive to see what they got in him. So I'm looking for some big minutes, even though he's coming off the bench. Cam Reddish is probable. Also fine, 4,600 on DraftKings and on FanDuel 4,600 as well. Probably more stomachable on the FanDuel side of things. He's an okay play. I'm not super into him. Not super into Keon Johnson either, but I think those are two guys you can look at for sure, especially in GPPs. All right, let's talk about the Indiana tank, which, a mini tank here. At this point, they're just kind of hoping for the best draft picks and try to see what they have in all that young talent there. Jalen Brunson ruled out. That's a good one. Jalen Brunson ruled out. I already had Emmanuel quickly in my lineup at 6,500. If you guys have a DFS pass, you know that. Even when Jalen Brunson was in, it's kind of a bummer for me, honestly, because I was going to have higher ownership. But with Brunson out, I think you absolutely need to lock in quickly. Go lock him in quickly. But they are playing the Houston Rockets, and he's 6,500 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he is 6,000. FanDuel, he's a really, really good price. I love that price on FanDuel. And he's a point guard and shooting guard on FanDuel as well. So I think you absolutely need to lock him out on FanDuel. DraftKings too. I think he's a lock on both sites. But anyways, yeah, I think he's a good one. Obviously, Quentin Grimes, a bit of a pivot here. He's 4,500 on DraftKings, and on FanDuel he is 4,900. So a bit of a better play on FanDuel probably, but he's put up really nice games recently. I'd say the floor can fall out from under him, but it is the Houston Rockets they're playing, so I think they're both pretty good plays. I mean, honestly, like you're not gonna you're probably not gonna regret either of those guys. Honestly, you can probably stack them both. So absolutely good, and that's huge news for us there. So I'm glad I caught that on our blurb feed there. But yeah, back to the Pacers. We don't have they don't have Miles Turner or Halliburton in this one. So obviously Isaiah Jackson, DraftKings, he's a lock. 3,900 on DraftKings. They're playing the Dallas Mavericks. You guys know how I feel about. Well, maybe you guys don't if you're watching this, but people that have the DFS pass that follow, me and my podcast know that I know that the Dallas Mavericks do not have a very solid, center position. So Isaiah Jackson's absolutely a guy you can lock in on DraftKings. For FanDuel, his price is not great. For FanDuel, we're talking about 5,600. I'm not into that price tag on FanDuel. And he does qualify as power forward, so decent. He just has that ability, though, to put up a lot of fouls in very few minutes, which he hasn't done recently. He's been pretty good about that. But yeah, I'm not super into that on FanDuel, honestly. I think there are other plays you can go to. There's a whole lot of value in this slate, so who are you gonna fade? You have to figure that out. But other guys on Indiana, with kind of a youth movement going on a little bit, you can obviously look at Nembhard, 5,400. These are DraftKings prices, so 5,400 for Nembhard. You can look at Mathurin. Mathurin's 4,800. That's a really, really good price for Mathurin. Making me second guess myself. I might have some in my lineup here. Jordan Nwora is another guy I'd be looking at heavily as well. He's 4,900. They're going to need somebody to score. No Halliburton, no Miles Turner. Miles Turner is not like the most gifted scorer in the world, but he was taking a lot of shots, so there's going to get divvied up among those guys. Obviously, Jalen Smith at 4,100 is also somebody you can definitely lean into on DraftKings. I think any of those guys are fine to roster. The one guy I would definitely say you need to roster is Isaiah Jackson on DraftKings, not on FanDuel, just on DraftKings. Let me take a look on the FanDuel side here. We have Nembhard at 5,800. Not super into that. Isaiah Jackson's 5,600, so no. Jordan Nwora, 5,500. We've got Jalen Smith at 4,900. And Benedict Mathurin, again, 4,800. That's another, again, just that is a attractive price for Benedict Mathurin. I think it's the one guy I would throw in as top tier Isaiah Jackson. Right below that, Benedict Mathurin, if you want to get frisky a little bit, I guess. But that's the biggest news so far. Looks like Jay Crowder is kind of returned to action here on the Bucks against the Pistons. That's a little interesting. He might cut into some of those Grayson Allen minutes, or even maybe Bobby Portis minutes. Not really that concerned about it. Joe Ingles might be the one that gets just kind of some rest. He's a bit older. An older Aussie gentleman. That is some interesting news, but not something that's going to move the needle a whole lot to me, a whole lot for me. Torian Prince has been added with an illness to the injury report for the Kings on Monday, for the Wolves, I should say, against the Kings. That's an interesting one. It feels like, man, if I were to lean which way I would go with Anthony Edwards, I feel like he sits in this one. I really do. So I feel like you can play some of those other Wolves guys. If he does sit, Jaden McDaniels again, probably the guy I'd gravitate most towards. Kyle Anderson, I think he's fine. Again, I don't think I actually looked at his price tag on. I don't watch his Pacers. Sorry, he's 6,000 on FanDuel. It's very decent. I'd go there. I'd mess with it. But yeah, hey guys, if you are listening here, if you don't already follow and subscribe, go ahead, subscribe. Make sure you guys stay on top of this. Not only do I do this show, which I'm hoping to bring to you guys. We haven't been doing DFS lineup locks, but I'm hoping with adding a few more members to our team, I'll be able to be a little bit more free for this. Bring some of the guys on so you can meet them, so you can see them, see who you're listening to on the podcast, and make sure you like and subscribe so you get notifications whenever we go live. But we do have also, season-long fantasy with Steven Vidovich and Dan Bespris, obviously, big guys in the fantasy space that are going to help you win your league. So make sure you're liking, subscribing, keeping on top of the latest here. Let's talk about some spend ups I like in the slate. I mean, obviously, biggest one. I guess we skipped over this one. My bad. But Joel Embiid was ruled out, and James Harden was ruled in. I'm going with Harden. Absolutely. I think this is a really good spot for him. I mean, it's against Denver, so the pace is going to be down a little bit, but he's just going to go off. I mean, I just get that feeling he's going to absolutely go off tonight. The Sixers kind of need him to. So I'd be looking for that to happen. And let me see here. James Harden stats without Joel Embiid this season. Let's see if we can find that for you guys. 20.6 points, 9.4 assists, and 6.7 rebounds in 7 games. That is good. That'll do. that'll do. So I would definitely look at some James Harden as your spend up there. Another guy, if you want to be contrarian, because a lot of people are going to have James Harden. Another guy I was really into earlier before we got the news about Joel Embiid was Devin Booker. He's a little bit more expensive. He's 10,000 on DraftKings on FanDuel. Let me see. He is 1,100. But they're playing Utah. I like for Utah to keep this close, even without, I mean, I don't know if Lauri plays or not. If Lauri Markkanen does play, I think that helps Booker a little bit because it's going to keep things more competitive. I don't really know how much incentive the Jazz have to play Markkanen, though. He's a game-time call right now. That's according to Eric Walden of the Salt Lake Tribune. I think if you're looking at guys, on Utah to take advantage of with if Lauri's going to be, marked out, I'm not going with Walker Kessler. He's a little bit priced up on both sides, but I've always been looking at Ochai Agbaji as kind of a mid-range guy that's just been under-owned. Had a really nice game in the last one where I recommended him. If you guys follow me on Twitter, at BSPP Keith, I did recommend him a few games back, and he came through. Had a nice one. So just a mid-range guy that just going to have very low ownership. So if you're playing, large field GPPs, somebody to definitely want to keep on your radar. Let's see if we have any new news here. Kevin Durant's coming back soon, so that's going to kill all our Josh Okogie love, unfortunately. No new news from the feed just yet. I'll give you guys another guy here. I know you guys, if you follow me on Twitter, I've already thrown these out there, but T.J. Warren is kind of a value play I'm looking at as well. Phoenix against Utah again. Again, I just think this game's going to be closer than many people would think on paper. Utah Jazz tend to keep things close. They don't really get blown out. And they still have some decent players over there, even with, Jordan Clarkson sitting and probably Lauri Markkanen sitting. Again, I'm not sure. He's still a game-time call. It's a 7.5 point spread on DraftKings now, just taking a look. So, but yeah, that is somebody, if you're looking at maybe just a low-owned guy that is going to come through with, threes and steals and some assists, that would be Ochai Agbaji, I think, for me. Sacramento's is a big game for Sacramento, and Minnesota's sitting everybody. I just don't know how competitive it's going to be. I mean, we're still waiting on Anthony Edwards news, so we'll see about that. If Anthony Edwards does not play, I don't think I like any of the Kings because it's just not. They're just going to beat them in the first 3 quarters. Probably not going to get 4 quarters of action out of them, and it's an 8-game slate, so just a little too risky for me. But if Anthony Edwards plays and we feel like the Timberwolves are actually going to try in this game, then yeah, I think you can definitely look at like a De'Aaron Fox, 8,400. Don't know if I'd pay up for Sabonis on this slate at 10-3. I think there's other guys. I've already mentioned a few. They're in that 9,600 to 10,000 range. I'd rather have. One guy that does intrigue me in Sacramento that I did have in my early builds was Harrison Barnes at 5,300. Gets a little bump here just based on the game that's going to be played here. It's going to be a fast-paced game. Let me see, 238s right now, the total that they have on DraftKings. That is tied for the highest, with the Dallas Mavericks and the Indiana Pacers. So I think you can definitely, go with some Harrison Barnes. Again, he's going to fly under the radar, have some pretty low ownership. So another large field or just GPP type play for you guys out there. Let's see if we have any new news. Let me refresh. Again, sportsethos.com. That's where it's at. DFS pass. Let me see. This is for Tuesday. Shea Gill just says questionable for tomorrow, which doesn't help us today. But yeah, sportsethos.com. Get the DFS pass. Get the Ethos 360 pass if you want to get access to all of our content. Like, subscribe. Ask me some questions in the chat if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and hit send on this. I meant to hit send when we started. My bad. If you guys have any questions about, hey, should I play this guy or that guy, hit me with them. I am here to help. And it will help us fill the time here while we're waiting for some more news to potentially drop. But we are on top of it, though. It looks like we're not getting too much here. We're about 10 minutes out. So there may be some late breaking news. I'm going to stay here on for another couple minutes after we get started, just to kind of see what some ownership is on some guys, because I am interested to see. I glossed over this earlier, too. The Clippers are going to be without Marcus Morris Sr. later. So that's a little bit of an interesting development. I think that they play a little bit more Batum, a little bit more Robert Covington. I think Robert Covington, for me, is the guy I would gravitate towards in a GPP type field. Again, this is a risky move, but 3,300 on DraftKings and on FanDuel. There we go. On FanDuel, he's 4,700. And DraftKings, I think I would go towards him. FanDuel, probably not spending up on that. There's just too much risk involved. But if he can get, 20 minutes, we all know that Robert Covington can put up threes, steals, blocks in a hurry. That's why I like him a little bit more as a FanDuel player, because steals and blocks are worth more over there. But again, his price tag, not the best on FanDuel. So I think DraftKings is really where I would go there. But yeah, no Marcus Morris Sr. I actually, one of the thoughts I had coming into this, I'm actually on his overs here on Sportsbooks, is Ivica Zubac at he's 6,500 on FanDuel. On DK, he's 5,900. I think he's a really solid play against my Bulls. They're going to need a big body out there for Vooch. I think he'll get decent minutes here, and I think he'll produce. I think he'll produce just fine. I think his points, rebounds, assists over was 20.5. So, maybe he puts up 23, 24 points, rebounds, and assists. It's decent at that price tag. I think it's, it's fine. It's not a huge ceiling type play, but I think it's a fine play. So there's that. RJ Barrett's an interesting guy too. Just kind of thinking out loud. We're talking about, Nixon without Jalen Brunson. You might get a few extra, ball handling ability or duties and shots up, So it's another guy that you can kind of slot into maybe playing in your lineups. Not super duper sold on it, but just a thought that popped into my head. Figured I would share with you guys. And again, if you have any questions about, lineups, let's see, Javon Carter or Covington for the mid 3,000s. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Javon Carter for sure. Yeah, there's no way I would go Covington if that's the 2 year between, because Javon is definitely locked in for minutes. Covington, not so much. Covington's more of a roll of the dice type deal. Maybe if it's a large field GPP, you fade Javon and play Covington. That's how you win it. It's possible. But no, I think Javon is, I think it's really, really low chance that happens. So good question though. Thank you, Game Blouses. All right, let me refresh the feed here, see if we got any breaking news. We are about 6 minutes to lock at this point in time. Again, do follow the show, follow the channel, I should say, the Sports Ethos channel. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We definitely need you guys to do that so we can keep producing all this content. No news just yet. I'm still waiting to see. Let me see. What news are we waiting on here? Let's take a look at that. So we are waiting on news about Kawhi. Well, Kawhi's probable, so he's probably going to play. He's just got banged in the face last game. I don't think there's any question he's going to play there. Lauri Markkanen's a big one. He's questionable. Technically, I would lean towards him not playing. Same with Anthony Edwards. He's questionable as well. I would lean towards him not playing as well against Sacramento. I just feel like the Wolves are just kind of letting go of this back-to-back. Second half of back-to-back. They're sitting Towns. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Maybe he's more truly questionable. But Jalen Brunson, we know, is out, so that's good. DeAndre Ayton should be probable. Yeah, probable he's going to play, so that's good. We can't play Jacques, if you have Jacques Landale or Bismack Biyombo in any of your lineups, go ahead and get them out. We don't want them in there. Those are the big ones that we're still waiting on. Oh, Michael Porter Jr. Is still questionable, so that's an interesting one. I mean, obviously, if Michael Porter Jr. is out, it is a tough matchup here against Philly. But I think you can look at some guys here. You can look at, obviously a Contavious Caldwell-Pope, 4,600. He's one of my favorite DFS targets because people just generally sleep on him. But he contributes across the board, threes, steals, points. So 4,600 for him. But Bruce Brown at 4,500 is probably the one I would go towards more as a guy that's going to fill in for Michael Porter Jr. It's going to be a little bit split between both those guys, but yeah, I do like him. Jeff Green's at 3,200 is a interesting guy to look at as well. I don't know if he's going to hit any value there. He's a real roll of the dice, but been playing pretty decently recently if he gets a few extra minutes because, Embiid's not playing. What am I talking about? Never mind. Forget that thought, thought train there. Toss it away. It does not matter. Christian Braun might get a few more too. Oh, Jalen Smith is starting over Jackson. Interesting. I would still play Isaiah Jackson. I think there's no doubt in my mind. Jalen Smith, he's got a high ceiling. He does produce it in minutes. But I just feel like the higher ceiling is Isaiah Jackson. They both have the same risk. I view it that way. I view it as, they both have high ceilings. Isaiah Jackson's ceiling is a bit higher because of the blocked shots. And the risk is the same. So I'm going to go with the higher ceiling on that scenario. But, hey, it could work out for you. I mean, again, the price point's a little different also, so that plays a factor as well, especially on DraftKings, which is what I'm mainly thinking of here. So you're talking about like 3,900 for Jackson versus 4,100 for Jalen Smith. Doesn't seem like a lot, but the extra $200 can really come in handy. So, yeah, I think Isaiah Jackson for me all day, DraftKings at least. Let me see here. Any new news? I'm going to throw a guy out there. Here's the guy that I'm personally watching. Don't think I'm going to have him in a whole lot of lineups, maybe just one. But if you're looking for sub 4,000 guys, I mean, there's plenty of them on this slate. But a guy that's probably going to have very low ownership is on the Bulls. I got to talk about the Bulls, of course. But Alex Caruso is questionable for this game. So I'm keeping my eye on that, on him. He is a guy I've been recommending recently. If he's hitting that three, because here's the thing about the Bulls. Teams like to play off of Patrick Beverley and Alex Caruso and allow them to just shoot. So if he ends up hitting threes and getting hot, I feel like he has a really high ceiling just compared to the pricing. I'd rather him be like in the 3,300 range, but 3,500 is still decent, I think. Kobe White, obviously interesting, but there's not a whole lot to like on the Bulls, honestly, against the Clippers. One of their top three guys. That's really it at this point. And then maybe Caruso in a GPP. Let me see here. What team have we not talked about? We've talked about them all, I believe. We haven't really talked about Detroit a whole lot, so we'll get into that. Let me just refresh my feed again real quick. See if we have anything here in the last minute. Nothing on the blurbs here. Good catch on that starting Jalen Smith starting, but yeah, no, I think that's basically gonna do it for us until lock here, guys. But yeah, let's talk real quick about Detroit. Obviously they are in tank mode at this point. No Bogdanovich, no Isaiah Stewart, no Alec Burks, no Hamidou Diallo. Corey Joseph is in, which is a little interesting. I think Jaden Ivey at 7,100 is too expensive against the Milwaukee Bucks, but Jaden Ivey on FanDuel is actually pretty darn affordable, honestly, which is usually never the case. Usually FanDuel's worse at their price. Well, not worse. They're more competitive with their pricing, I guess, is how I'd phrase it. A little harder, but 6,100 on FanDuel for Jaden Ivey, I think, is a very good price. So I would go with that. Marvin Bagley is a guy that interests me in GPPs, and it looks like we're locked anyway, so it's really not going to help anybody there. But yeah, Marvin Bagley is a guy that I had in early iterations of my lineups here, and I just think this game was trending towards the over at one point, and also going to be more competitive. So he's a guy I like as well. But that's it, guys. Let me just take a look here at some ownership on some of the guys we did talk about. Oh, I got to log back in. Hold your horses. Hold my beer. Let's see what we got here as far as ownership on some of these guys I spoke of. Hey, I got a projection of 306.36 on FanDuel. That's pretty good. Obviously going to win. So some of these early guys that we did lock in, Javon Carter on FanDuel. I'm just looking at one of my GBPs here. Is 50.3% owned. So no surprise there. Benedict Mathurin, 31.5% owned on FanDuel. So I did swap to him at one point. So there you go. Bobby Portis, 36.2% owned. So I'm eating the chalk there quite a lot. Let me take a look at DraftKings. Some of the guys I spoke of there. See what they're. Isaiah Jackson, only 12.4% owned. Oh, that's going to be good. I think that news that he wasn't starting kind of hurt. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens there. I think Isaiah Jackson ends up with a higher score than Jalen Smith. I really do. And he's 200 cheaper. So hopefully that works out for me. Javon Carter, 58.4% owned. So no doubt, no surprise there at all. Bobby Portis, 46.5% owned. So yeah, I'm a little surprised about Isaiah Jackson. I thought he'd be higher owned, but maybe it's because of that late breaking news. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for us, though. Hopefully, we can bring this to you at least once a week. Do like and subscribe. And until next time, go get that money.